Well, friends, welcome to the review of Barbie. I'm delighted to say it was a terrific film, and more than a terrific film, a funny film, lots of comedy, a significant film. It has important things to say, and I think we'll touch down on those. Perhaps before we start, we ought to talk about how Barbie originates. It's 1952. Germany lost the war 7 years ago. Many of the people who supported the monster who wanted to destroy all Jews and conquer the entire world, many of the people who supported him understand that they've erred terribly, but some of them stay loyal. They become the neo-fascists of our day. In any case, there's a German fellow named Axel Springer, who wants to start a little newspaper. And indeed he does. And he puts together his first edition. And it turns out that there's a little spot that's empty. It doesn't have any representation in it. It has no words. It's too small for headlines, certainly too small for an article, too small for really a photographic picture. He has an associate and he says to him, make a cartoon to put in there. And the fellow does, and it becomes sort of a caricature of Marlene Dietrich, the great actress who left Germany in support of the Jews whom Hitler had condemned. Brilliant woman, gifted, and there's her little caricature. And people fell in love with that and wanted to have a name for it, and he called it Lily. Lily was a great favorite in Germany. And at the time, Ruth Handler, who directed Mattel, was in Switzerland, and she saw this Lily figure, and it became an influential figure in her creation of Barbie. So that's some background. The film starts in Barbie land. Barbie is a perfect woman. In what sense? In the sense that she goes beyond what human beings can be. She has a perfect smile, gloriously beautiful teal eyes, perfect blonde hair, perfectly arranged, and very, very slender body and long, long legs, which can have an awful effect on young women who might take this as an ideal to aspire toward. How do you get to be that skinny? Well, I guess by starving yourself. So anorexia becomes a problem that attaches to Barbie. Those extremely long legs are not normal women's legs. And so we have a problem to deal with. But in Barbie land, we don't deal with that problem. Everything is perfect. Until one day, she steps out of her gloriously high, high heels, and her feet, boom, come down onto the ground. Flat feet, she says. They're not flat feet the way we know what they are. They're just feet on the ground. And this results in a series of problems. It turns out that some girl damaged her Barbie doll, and that may have something to do with the flat feet. And Barbie has to travel from the ideal world of Barbie land to the real world, find that girl and reconcile herself with her. And indeed, she does. And there's a figure named Ken who loves Barbie and tries to get next to her, behind her, whatever, in Barbie land. But in the real world, there's a patriarchy. Oh, there's a kind of domination by male figures, and women have the pressures of trying to be, in quotes, perfect, peaceful, smiling, reconciling, supportive, self-effacing, all those things that are part of what in the film is called the patriarchy. And Baby goes through all that in her venture into the real world. It ultimately encounters a Chicana and her young daughter who rejected Barbie herself, not destructively, but rejected that world, the world in which she was enforced to be, for example, loyal to her mother. So she rejects her mother, and her mother goes through anguish, therefore. All that is part of this film, which tells the story of Barbie's perfect life becoming imperfect, flat feet, and having to involve a quest into the real world, which also involves contact with the officers of who in this version are all men. Business people. And there are conflicts there. Ultimately, Barbie comes to understand and sympathize with the people in the real world. The daughter, Chicana daughter who had rejected her mother, comes to realize that that relationship is meaningful and significant, and reconciles herself with that mother. Things come together in a positive sense. Barbie undertakes to travel back to the ideal world of Barbie land. Ideal in quotes, of course. Ultimately, that doesn't happen. She ends up back in the real world after many chases that I won't go into. Back in the real world. And to my delight and amazement, the real, albeit extremely beautiful, young woman who used to be the doll Barbie becomes the person and walks up to a counter where she asks to see, in her last word of the movie, her gynecologist. All the aspects of what it means to be a woman in a film that started in the primitive, empty lands when all little girls had were dolls that looked like them, that would lead them to become mothers until they moved out into the larger world. Indeed, the larger world we now occupy, in which we recognize correctly that women and men are both fundamentally free, desirable, and honorable members of a society who contribute equally, at the very least, to progress, which is a continuing thing that perhaps will never reach its end, but we hope will come closer and closer as we have Barbies who are black and Barbies who are brown and Barbies who are yellow. All of those names, all of those colors merely adopted as inaccurate representations of the colors that people are. I'm supposedly white, but nothing about the colors of this face or these hands is actually that. Take care, dear friends. Thanks for being with me. If you haven't seen Barbie, by all means, go and enjoy it. A wonderful film. Not like Oppenheimer, which is a documentary, really. A documentary story about an actual life. This is a story about fictional life, fictionalized. And fiction is, in fact, about the real story of human life as well. Take care. See you next time.